A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Shawn C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. I am Sabbath Shawn.
I'm Reckless Ray.
I'm the Abominable Anthony.
And we are here to fuck your shit up. No, not really. We're just here to tell you about some cool movies and some not so cool movies.
Get them pants down, boys.
What's up, guys?
Hey, fellas.
I'm good.
Happy Saturday.
How are you guys?
Good, man. Good.
Yes.
I got some coffee here. Gonna get wired, and then it's the old drink coffee all day and then drink beer. So good life. So as we're getting back into the idea that we'll be able to eventually be, maybe like watch a movie together again. We had wanted to, I'm speaking now, I guess, to the listeners, because you guys know this. So we wanted to bring back like having a unified, at least one movie that we'd all seen. And we've kind of, been trying to do homework assignments and this and that. But so this week we have two. First one we're going to do right now, because we all just watched it yesterday. In fact, I have it going behind me. St. Maud. So, I was looking back at some notes I made. I believe the trailer for this first dropped last year in March, and it was supposed to come out in like April or May. It didn't. It played one showing at Beyond Fest in September, and then I feel like it never did any, it was kind of gone, and then it popped up on
I can't wait.
the fuck was
Sorry.
that?
Something popped up.
Eddie Ruxpin.
So then it popped up on Epics. And what I found out from my friend Missy last year is nobody outside of, I don't know if it's just California, if it's West Coast, nobody like in the Midwest, I don't know what the fuck Epics is. She's like, what the fuck is Epics? So I don't even know where St. Maud was. I wasn't about to invest in an Epics subscription to watch it. So it just hit Prime. So listeners, it's streaming, and we're here to tell you if the wait was worth it, if you should invest your time if you have Prime. See that? I've been listening to a lot of old school Ice-T, so you're gonna get some rhyming in, So guys, what'd you think of St. Maud?
It's pretty good.
You're gonna have to do better than that. Come on now.
It's high art.
I liked it. It's crazy. I mean, it's it feels more like a psychological thriller.
Until it doesn't.
Well, yes, but like I guess I say that because the sanity of the main character is questionable. Very questionable.
Yes. So I feel like questionable is not the is not the word.
It's the whole arc to the film.
I don't know. So Anthony, what do you think?
I thought it was good. Like Ray said, it was a bit of a psychological thriller. Slow burn.
Definitely
So
slow burn.
it really doesn't pick up till the end of the film. But you're kind of, I don't want to piss anybody. I don't mind pissing anybody off, but it's one of those things where it's like you see this like delusion of grandeur that a lot of folks from the religious right have, and what happens with that as zealots start to break down mentally, and that's the only thing they have to cling to. It's got a lot to say in that regard, but as far as like a horrific element, like or it even being a horror film, I probably wouldn't even classify it as a horror film, with the exception of like maybe one or two little scares that they throw in here and there. But it's I mean, I guess in the end, whatever happens, I'm not going to spoil anything because it just dropped. Whatever ends up happening, I guess therein lies the horror. But overall, very well acted, very well shot.
Yeah.
There's some there's one, and this isn't a spoiler. There's just a scene of her walking down a hallway with a really crazy tilted angle. Fucking rad stuff. There's some really cool camera work in this. I won't take away anything from this film. It's good. It really is worth your time. And for the most of us that do have Prime and have been waiting around for this film, like now is your time to jump on it, obviously. I highly recommend it. But no, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
It is a slow burn, but it's not like some other slow burns that I feel like they take a while, or that like you're sitting there going, oh man, how much longer is this? It's definitely engaging. It's well done. The leads are great. It was something I didn't think about until partway through the film, and that's like how much of this film is like literally like maybe majority it's one person, and then occasionally there's two people on screen. There's not a whole lot of people on screen, and because of that, you have to rest so much tension on just one person. But she does a great job, that actress, of doing it. Like, it's definitely tense and thought provoking. I was impressed. I really did do a good job with that film.
So the writer director is Rose Glass, and this is her first feature.
Oh wow.
And the lead is Moyfred Clark. She plays Maud, and then the other, the main supporting actress is Jennifer L, and she plays Amanda. So to give listeners like a little, because I knew nothing about this, and I'm not going to give too much because I feel like it definitely helped knowing nothing. But you basically, Maud, where the movie starts is narratively, it starts with some images, but where it starts narratively, she is starting a new job where she's going to be staying with this woman who was once a revered choreographer dancer, and now is basically partially crippled because she has lymphoma of the spine. And so she goes and she's living with her and taking care of her. And like Anthony said, I think it goes beyond being the religious right. I think what it is we're talking about, what you said is key, it's zealotry. So Maud has these delusions of grandeur insofar as like she believes that the Lord is telling her, has brought her to live with Amanda because he wants her to save her soul. And so a lot of the narrative and the tension is based on, the narrative is based on that. Now, rewatching the first like 20 minutes of it before we started, I was struck by the fact that, first of all, I had forgotten the first thing they show you is extremely important, but you don't know what it is yet. So I had forgotten that they showed it, but then also, like I was saying to Anthony right before you joined up, Ray, it's really interesting when you meet somebody. So as a viewer, you're meeting this character, right? So when you meet somebody in real life, you don't know who they were yesterday or a week ago or a month ago. it might not be the same, something may have happened that changed the entire course of their life. And there's an element of that here. And they even visually kind of at the beginning, like one of the first images when we like pick up with the present tense is a close-up shot of something orange bubbling. And it's really like kind of misleading. And so I feel like they were telling you with that image, like what we're showing you is kind of a close-up, but once we pull back, you'll see it for what it is. And that's what ends up happening by the end of the movie. And all the tension is really like Moyford Clark is, I mean, she's so engaging, like you said, right? I could not take my eyes off her because you do not know what, like, you're like, okay, what's she gonna do? What is she thinking? What is happening in this scene? Why is she all of a sudden here? Oh, I mean, the character goes through some interesting arcs.
Yeah.
And you're seeing like kind of a tug of war between the two people, like who she's trying to be and who she was. It was really interesting. And I mean, ultimately, I really enjoyed it. I think it's totally worth people's time. I don't think it's a horror movie. However, to me, like the horror that is with it, like this to me is the horror that scares the fuck out of me. It's people like her. Like really, like she is horrifying. She's absolutely fucking horrifying. So
well, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's I can't remember what else I've seen recently, but I know I've seen a few different horror movies, in quotation marks, that I've seen in the last couple of years that like have this theme of like it's not horror in the traditional sense. It's horror and in the sense of like these characters are slowly losing grips more and more on their sanity, and that is actually the horror that we're subjected to is not like existing from the outside and just watching this character as if they're nothing connected. We're engaged with these characters, and as they descend, as the madness takes greater hold of them, it's something that we're seeing, and like the images that we get shown half the time, most of the time, as a consequence of that, is the things that they're experiencing, and not necessarily reality. We have to question the entire time, and like there's weird moments because we have moments where we go, okay, that probably happened. Okay, that probably, and then when something crazy happens, we go, wait, that probably did not happen at all. No, and then you start to have to question, like, did that really happen, or is that something that I should mistrust too? And right. I think it does something to us as a viewer that helps us understand a little bit more the nature of madness. That, like, if you're someone that hears voices in your head, that at some point you have trouble separating whether you actually hear people talking to you or whether it's just a voice that's in your head that's talking to you. And in the same way, we have a visual that's happening for us. And so the horror is like us being stuck in with that character descending into that madness.
Right.
It's interesting. It's a neat take on horror. Like it's nice that horror can encapsulate so much more.
I agree. On the last episode we did, I mentioned how I was watching them on Amazon, and the fact that, like, as horror, I kind of used a comparison back in the day, with metal. Like if you had a keyboard, metal, a lot of metalheads were like, "You're not metal," and slowly that changed. And the same thing, like horror has become more than just slashers and blood and guts and demons and hauntings and blah blah blah. And
you forgot
like,
tits.
And tits. And them is really something. I still have it's like 10 episodes. I still have 2 to go. I have to take like a week off sometimes because I'm just like, oh my God. And it's not because of traditional, it's because of what these people are doing and where they are mentally. And this is similar in that, like, this is real. This is like, and also, like, I don't know, psychology, I've known somebody who went mad in front of me over the course of like a couple weeks. It's
Ooh.
fucking terrifying.
I bet.
And I'm not saying it's not exactly what is going on in St. Maud, but there, there's a little bit of an element of that.
Oh yeah.
Anthony, would you compare this to anything, or I guess like anything in your experience? I mean, you have I feel like the widest experience with the genre out of all of us. So anything else you'd like pair it with, or anything that comes to mind that's like similar, or
no.
Ugh.
And that's simply because I don't want to give away anything any more than
enough.
needs to be said, because I still have a lot to touch on regarding the film, but I also feel like anything more I'm going to add to it is kind of going to give some of it away, and I don't want to spoil any imagery for it. But one theme is duality, and that comes up a lot during the film. So I mean, take that, and apply it to any horror film where that uses that as a theme. But I don't need to go further with it just because I don't give any more away.
One of the things about this movie that also made me very skeptical, other than the way the A24 handled the release, this movie, when the trailer dropped, and I felt like there was a lot of like all of a sudden hype about it, I got the distinct impression, I'm like, oh, I feel like this movie's trying to present itself as the next Hereditary. And
so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as far as what's the director's name again? I'm sorry.
Rose Glass.
It's as far as, this being her first film, I find it interesting that she, A24's kind of struck gold again in some regard by picking, another first time director that's going to put out some really weird shit, i.e., guy that did Midsummer, Aster, and the dude that did The Witch also, because I mean, those guys got their first shots at through via A24. And
did A24 do The Witch?
Those are A24 films.
Okay, I didn't remember that. Okay,
so I again, them and this director putting their best foot forward, and just, I mean, I don't want to suck A24 off, but they know good shit when they see it.
Definitely.
They know, and so I'm really glad that they're continuing, with the quality of product that they're putting out.
I agree. I guess I was just a little skeptical because I think this is like, like for instance, Bickness, he has expressed to me in conversation before how A24 is a little bit up its own ass. I don't think that. However, when I saw the trailer for this, and then maybe just because I was irritated at the way that the releasing went, and honestly, it wasn't even their fault because fucking COVID happened. If it hadn't happened, it would have been in the theaters last spring and it would have been over and done with, right? But I did wonder if there was like, this kind of like pretense behind it. But and I'm happy now that I've seen it to say, you know what? I'm fine with pretension if you can back it up, right? So
exactly.
Like, everybody that to make another musical analog, like back in the day, like everybody was like, oh, fucking Radiohead, whatever. And at some point Radiohead did go up their own ass, but you know what? Kid A is fucking amazing. So they can be as pretentious as they fucking want if they can back it up. If you're pretentious and you can't back it up, fuck you. But so yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts on Maud?
Just real quick tidbit. Funny, there's no planned release for DVD or Blu-ray for this film in the United States, which is really interesting. And so far, the only place you can get it is in the UK on Blu-ray, and that just went on sale for like £9.99 something. And I went to go grab it, and it's fucking sold out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which is really weird. So I mean, if you want to track it down, you got a multi-region player, it's on Blu-ray, you can do that for a nominal fee for under $30. But yeah, it sucks that there's just no planned release right now, and they may let it run its course on Prime right now for a bit and see how that goes. But I mean, we'll see. We talked last time about the beginning of the decline of physical media, and this might be one of those films. So we'll find out.
I think this is more like anything for Jackson.
Hopefully.
You know what I mean? Where I remember you when you first watched on Shudder, you're like, I don't understand. Like, in fact, I was just listening back to that episode that we did earlier today, and it was you were saying, I don't understand. Like, usually when I go into Best Buy, everything that's on Shudder is there for $12 on the shelf, and this isn't there. And then it popped up, event like a month later or whatever. But I think that'll probably happen. I really think. I mean, I still think they've kind of fucked up the way they released this movie. Again, not really their fault, COVID, but and I'm sure it's happened to other movies too. I mean,
like in Fabric's an A24 film also, and that's one of those movies that came out through some like really obscure label. And if I'm not mistaken, I think those were BDRs. Like they weren't even. It wasn't even like a release, which is why I imported it. That's why I imported it so I can have like legit, physical copy. Rather than just here's some burn disc of a movie that came out. So I'm not 100% on how A24 is handling a lot of their distribution. Or I mean, I would think would be really cool if they were uniform and going through one company, but obviously for money's sake, I mean, not everybody wants to jump on some of these strange artsy projects.
I have a feeling that this is probably primarily because of the pandemic, because they I feel like they did the same thing with both Astor's movies, where it was in the theater, then it came out on Blu-ray, then it hit Prime, and it's like they're on Prime. I feel like both Hereditary and Midsommar have been on Prime since they, like a couple weeks after their Blu-ray release. So
Pretty much.
I did. Well, also I did notice when this starts, Epix, it says like an Epix film or something, so they must have put money into it. Now I don't know at what stage, but I do think all bets are off right now. And like we talked about last week, and like you brought up again, like the decline of physical media, Warner Brothers saying that next year they may stop making discs, and it's going to continue. If this is the way things are going to go, everything's going to get more and more niche. And I don't know who fucking knows. And you're right. Maybe, I mean, if it came, like, I know Arrow would put this out.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that Screen Factory would. Maybe they would. I don't know.
I think that part of it is that it's the effect of COVID and like being shut down over the year. So probably what they are trying to do is do like, let's get some interest generated on streaming. And they probably were honestly like, it is, it did. Yeah, the version I watched was on Hulu. It's on Hulu too, but it does say right there in the corner the entire time.
Wait, it says what in the corner?
It said Epix right in the bottom corner.
So this is on Hulu. That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So Epix put money into this. So I think that they're trying to get probably people to subscribe to Epix.
Yeah,
that's part of it, and I think it's going to run, and then at some point it's going to go on DVD or Blu-ray. And like you said, Warner Brothers has talked about they're going to get away from physical media. But I mean, for a long time, well, not a long time, but last like maybe 10 years, they've had a special collection. Yeah, and like. Well, they put out, and it's not horror related, but they put out the Bill Murray movie Quick Change on Blu-ray just recently, which has never been on Blu-ray before. And
through the Warner Archives, right?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Warner Archive releases.
Yeah, and it's on that limited media release. So like either you can order it from them or like Amazon will have it, but it's not going to be something that's present in stores. Like it's very small runs. And honestly, like when they first started it, if I remember correctly hearing, like it was like a print on demand service, because they were like, we have these movies that are in our back catalog that people are interested in, but it's not worth it to us to print out like a whole bunch of copies. So we're just going to do it this way.
So they got in trouble with that in the very beginning because they didn't advertise that. So one of the very first releases they did was Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. So horror fans came out of fucking the woodworks. Everybody needed this Blu-ray. They went and got it, and that's when they got their, dummy made-on-demand DVD that.
Yeah.
So then that's made me apprehensive about buying The Hunger with David Bowie. And also, I think there's a couple of those flicks that they have out now. Wolfen, if I'm not mistaken. But there's like a collection now that has like 3 or 4 films on it, and I don't know if it's a legit Blu-ray or if it's just a bunch of recorded shit, whatever. But
Hey, if any listeners out there know, let us know in the comments or on social media. Because I would like to know, because yeah, if Warner Brothers archives are just print on demand, fuck them, you know. Hey,
Yeah.
Tori.
Hi, sorry.
That's okay. What's going on?
Nothing. How are you guys?
Good. Hey, what did you think of St. Maud? Did you see it?
No, you know what? I wasn't feeling very good last night, so I
Okay.
watched it.
Well,
I'm gonna watch it, but if
that's
spoiler.
fine. So okay, so now that Tori's here, so let's segue into another one of our features, shall we? And that would be Lake Mungo. So Tori, you set us off on this Lake Mungo challenge.
Yeah. The Lake
So
Mungo.
talk to us about Lake Mungo.
So I've been hearing about it for years. It came with that series. What, it came out in what, 2014?
Let me look it up. I knew this before.
you guys all look like Parker Lewis Can't Lose synchronizing squatches.
2008.
Oh my God, that far back.
Yeah, it was one of the 8 films to die for, and it was, I believe it was in one of the, that was maybe the second.
I think the second.
round? I think we talked about this previously, but yeah, so okay, so 2008. So you've been hearing about it for years, same here.
Yeah, fine. I don't know why. It's just one of those things I guess, gravitate to first, but it was supposed to be like a found footage ghost story. Supposedly, I kept hearing it was really creepy, really scary. So I was excited to watch it. And I watched it, about a month and a half ago. You know what? I don't know. I was a little bummed out. I like it, but I don't know, maybe just hearing the hype over the years, how scary it was going to be. And I mean, I was scared in some parts, but I don't know, guys. What do you think?
Anthony, what'd you think?
Are we spoiling this movie? I mean, it's old as fuck now.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
so listeners, if you have any interest in seeing Lake Mungo and not having it spoiled for you, just, I don't know, come back to this episode after you watch it. I mean, seriously, 2008. I can't say like it's been a long time, because we all just saw it for the first time, you know, so I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I think that it's required viewing. Go ahead and let's do it. Let's do it up. So spoiler alert. Boom. Anthony.
The scariest thing about this movie has nothing to do with, fake ghosts or anything like that. It's got to do with child molestation. That's the scariest fucking thing in this movie. And it's disgusting and it's frightening because it's real. That shit happens every day.
Well, okay, so I agree. However, I wanna define that better, because when I hear
You can
child
cut this out.
molestation, what?
You can cut everything I just said right now if you need to.
No, I'm not gonna cut it, but I want to define, because if I'm listening to this, when I hear child molestation, honestly, I picture a Catholic priest putting his hand on a little kid's nuts, right?
You've got a sick mind.
Well, whatever. So, but that's not what this is. This is a 16, 17-year-old girl who ends up, the girl who's missing. There's a discovery that she was banging the adult neighbor and his wife. So they were having like a menage a trois, right? I mean, molestation specifically to me is unwanted. She's participating. I'm not saying that it's right on the adult's part. I'm just saying she's, participating.
Yes.
Let's say. So it's not like they're chaining her up and touching her or whatever. It's still wrong. I'm not, not saying that, but I just want to give listeners like a little bit of let's define it a little bit more. So, I don't know. Just
I feel that she was a very impressionable youth.
yes.
As most teenagers are.
Therein lies the problem.
Therein lies the problem. Unfortunately, that's where, she was taken advantage of.
Mhm.
And with
Absolutely.
this film, when you get to the heart of what this film is about, it's the tip of the iceberg. So the rest of it's just fluff, in my opinion. It's well shot fluff, it's well acted fluff, but what's truly horrific about it is just barely touched on. And that's what bothered me about the film. Not a bad movie. I definitely got something else that I wasn't expecting. And it's definitely a lot grosser than a ghost.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it is brushed past. You're right. Like they kind of introduce that, and it's this big turning point, and then they just kind of move away from it. It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, then the movie's over, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's like another one of its red herrings.
It's just kind of brushed. Like, wait, what? Okay, we're moving on. But no, I like Anthony what you saw, and I mean, I don't like what you saw, but I like that you got that from watching.
Ray, what'd you think?
I thought it was good. I mean, it's definitely not what I was expecting.
No.
It's got a lot of red herrings in it. Like you keep thinking like, okay, this is it. Oh, okay, this is the story. And then something happens and you go, oh, okay, what this is about. Oh, okay, now this is what this is about. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, I don't know if it's like a honestly a rewatch.
No.
But I thought it was good. I mean, I did like one of the things I thought was like, oh, that's clever, was the ghost that you keep, like if you didn't notice it, like when you go back at the end, they show you like, oh, these are all the moments in the film that you didn't see.
Yeah.
I was actually standing there, and I was like, oh, that was cool, because you can go back and you can look, and yeah, certainly she's there. You just miss it because you're looking at everything else that's happening. It was odd. I think you're right. I didn't think about that, but it was odd the way that like it went right from the inappropriate sexual relationship between with her and the neighbors, and then I forget what the next thing it picks up with, but it does move through it fairly quickly. Like the father, even like it's an odd moment, because the father has that whole thing where he's like, yeah, if he were still around, I'd probably attack him right now. And I'm like, that's a lot of measured anger. Like it's a weird, I don't know. There was something weird about that whole interlude that I was just like, there's a lot of emotion missing from this moment.
Yeah.
It was an interesting way to do the whole found footage thing. Mm-hmm. Don't know what to make of that whole moment where she's walking through the desert and then runs into herself.
I was going to go into that. So first of all, the thing that I almost don't even know that this is found footage, because this to me, so the whole thing left me kind of cold, and like had a feel like what Anthony was saying, like how that whole sexual thing with the neighbor was gross, but this looks like Kirsten watches these true crime shows all the time, right? And I don't like them. I just don't like them because it always involves rape, inappropriate sexual, whatever, murder, for it's just very, I don't know, just it's always whatever. And I just don't like that format. And this is what that is. It doesn't feel like a found footage movie where it's like somebody recording a horror movie like first person with the camera. This is organized like you're watching, Maury Povich and Inside Edition or something like that.
2020 special, like
yeah.
What happened to Laura Palmer,
Yeah, and I don't like that format. So immediately, like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to like this movie. I'll watch it, but I'm not going to like it. And it starts to like, it started to gain my interest by going into the supernatural element with the brother sets up the cameras and they're getting the images of her or whatever. And then they debunk that.
Yes.
Right. So, and that he had faked it. And so I'm like, okay, well, now I don't even like the fucking brother. So now like I've got nothing here and then they go into the neighbor, and the way they did that was interesting because then they go back and show you what you've already seen. Like, oh, but so we've debunked the brother's footage of her standing in the living room or whatever, right? But then we notice there's another face in the corner, and that gave me fucking chills. I'm like, oh, what is this now? Okay, layers. This is interesting. And then it goes into this fucked up, inappropriate underage relationship. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like, it kept like reeling me in and losing me. And I think the filmmaker, Joel Anderson, may have been aware that he bit off more than he could chew when he adopted that format, and he used it well, but like, it's still, it just left me cold. So then they go into this thing finally in the desert in the last, like, whatever, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of the movie. And you get this really weird alien experience where she's out there and she buries her cell phone and meets herself, like apparently from the future or the past or whatever. And it was interesting.
Goes from the future.
Yeah, like she sees her. Yeah, it was interesting. But by that point, like when I think of this movie, that was the thing about the movie I liked the most. None of it scared me. The only thing that scared me was that initial, like, oh, there's a face in the corner. And then it turns out to be the creepy fucking neighbor looking for the footage that she had of him banging her. So I don't know. It was a real, like, I don't want to say it was a letdown, but it was so not what I thought it was going to be. And I can't say for anybody else if that was, for me, it was not a great thing because I don't like that format. So I feel like I got fooled into watching, true crime, didn't really enjoy it. And then they tacked on this kind of ending that had a supernatural element to it, but ultimately, like, I don't know, it just seemed like, okay, well.
It definitely is one of those things of like, I feel like when the whole found footage thing came along, there was the realization that, like, okay, we can only do this so many times.
Yeah.
We have to start playing with the concept and see where we can go with it. And this is one of those, definitely is like playing with the found footage concept, but doesn't quite have it all drilled in yet. It reminded me a little bit of like, did you ever see that Halloween special that they had on Shudder? I forget the name of it, but like it was something like the new WJ.
Yeah, I talked about that one, the Halloween special.
It has that. It had like a similar thing, and then at the very end, because you're sitting there and you're like, okay, this is just a found footage thing, and then at the end, like it really dovetailed into it, and you're like, oh, okay, this is horror, cool. Like it has like a twist at the end that you're like, oh, okay. Whereas this doesn't have that. So it does have the feeling of like a 2020 special or Nightline. And it's just like, as the credits roll, they're like, and if you happen to miss it, she was there in the corner.
Well, that was the other thing. Then they go back and show you the photos again that they've already debunked and oh, but look, she is there. So I was kind of like, geez, I mean, I don't know, like,
they're playing with me. It keeps giving you. That's what I said. It keeps doing
contrived.
It keeps giving you red herrings and then pulling them away from you, and then
and then giving it back. Oh, but Tori, what were you gonna say?
She had no justice either, or the family.
Yeah.
Like it was just so. Like I understand that not every movie has to have a happy ending or some payoff, but you get so invested with the family, even if the brother is a douchebag. You think it's going to lead up to that, and it doesn't.
I really think like her character is so Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks to me because Laura Palmer is another great example. Like technically, Laura Palmer is a victim of molestation, right? But also like she's going out and participating in. She's fucking Leo, Jacques. I mean, that's totally, she's supposed to be 16. She's banging these fucking, 20, 30-year-old dudes, dirtbags or whatever. So I feel like that was very similar. And then I feel like the desert thing with the doppelganger was total. So I feel like there was a lot of Twin Peaks influence on this. And again, that family's last name was Palmer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Ray's right. I think that Joel Anderson wanted to elevate the found footage and do something new with it, but ultimately all that ended up doing was creating something that really like 75% of it could play on, the whatever the Oxygen or whatever the fucking stations are to play all that true crime shit. And that stuff to me is just, to quote Wayne Gale, it's filler, junk food for the brain. You think there's nitwits out there in Zombieland really remember anything? I mean,
I thought you were going to use the hot pepper up your ass.
I almost did. That's I'm gonna come out with that tonight. Put a hot pepper up your ass. Oh man. Yeah. So I don't know.
And let me tell you,
What?
already coke sometimes.
So okay. So like Mungo said, I don't know. I feel Mungo was somebody's name and something, right? I don't know what I'm drawing on there. Any
I feel like if
closing?
you're paying for the service, watch it once. You probably won't watch it again. There's definitely no need to buy it or seek it out beyond this
No.
point. There are
No.
maybe 1 or 2 instances that are, interesting enough just for visuals to go ahead and give it a go. But beyond that, it has no rewatchability, and it's
Yeah, and the whole sexual impropriety thing, like really, like left a dirty smear on it for me. Like, I don't know. I guess because that scene where they're like, "Oh my God, this man's face is here," and we didn't see it, was like the one like thrilling or like like oh my God, and then he's in the house creeping around looking for this videotape. I don't know. I mean, I just felt like I wanted it to be something different, and then
They put the ball on it. They could have taken that whole, showing her having a secret life, but her being groomed or going with that abuse thing. I think they had an opportunity to make something as like a message to what's really going on and how girls are trafficked or just victims, but they give you a little bit and then go, okay, no, we're gonna look over here, we're gonna do something else instead.
yeah.
ooh, a ghost.
Oh, where?
All right, so what have you guys seen? Anthony, seen, read, tasted, drank, smoked?
Oh, there's something I tasted. I rewatched The Stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Can't
Now,
get enough.
did you watch the Blu-ray?
Actually, I think it was on Prime. I do own the Blu-ray, though. I have it.
I know you do.
Yeah, I've got it. But yeah,
It's
a lot of those there. I'm sorry, what's that?
I said I'd be disappointed if you didn't own it.
Yeah, right. I'd be disappointed myself. No, it's still fun. It's still campy. It's I've forgotten how slow the film is, though. Like the pacing is pretty rough. But I do like all the scenes with like the kid and his family trying to really you got to finish your stuff before you can have more stuff. Now that kind of stuff, and then just like the really campy, cheesy special effects where like homeboy's body, his mouth like elongates and all the crap comes out everywhere. Like there's some fun, really fun campy stuff in there. But it's one of those films where I'm not going to sit down and like watch it every year because again, it's really like there's a lot of long parts you got to sit through before you get some funny stuff. But what's that guy's name? Moriarty. He's fucking hysterical in it.
Oh, Michael.
Yeah, Michael Moriarty. He's good in that. He's good in Q the Winged Serpent.
Yeah, he's great in that.
Dropping the ball in something else that I've seen him into. I'm sorry.
Same director.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that scene where the guy goes up the wall, that was done because they were filming with the same studio that did Break Into Electric Boogaloo.
How would I know you would know this?
Poor T. Everything comes back to that movie and fucking Rockula.
It was on In Search of Darkness Part 1 that they talked about it, but but they had this sequence in that movie in Electric Boogaloo where this guy like break dances all around the room, like dancing on the walls, dancing on the ceiling, and they had the room was on a gimbal, and like so they were filming on the same studio, and I forget the director's name, but he saw it and was like, hey, can we borrow that? And so they gave them that room to use it for that scene. So they filmed that scene from the stuff in the same room. They just redecorated it, and then like, yeah, that's how they did that scene. But they apparently was tricky because the fire and everything too. Like this was back, they didn't use like, that was real fire. It wasn't like a CG or anything. So that was pretty dangerous then, apparently.
But no, it's still fun. It's still fun to watch. I mean, like I said, I won't watch it every year on account of pacing, but I mean, there's still some fun to be had with that flick, especially like, I think it's kind of a crowd pleaser. It's one of those, like, I hate to use the word so big, but it's so bad it's good, but it's fun as hell. It's still good. What about you guys? You guys have any experiences with the stuff?
Who doesn't like a good body horror though, you guys? Come on. I mean, gooey people, you can't beat that. No, but it's funny you watch this stuff because I watched another body horror movie called The Special.
Oh,
Have you heard of it?
I've seen the trailer. Tell us about it.
Okay, so it's streaming on Amazon if anybody wants to watch it for free. It came out 2020, I believe. Hear me out. So this dude, he believes his wife is cheating on him. So a coworker of his convinces him to go to this massage parlor. And by massage parlor, I mean whorehouse. And he called The Special. So it's literally this box that's glowing purple and magenta light, and you stick your dick in it, and it's supposed to be like best. I know, hear me out. I see everybody giggling. It's supposed to be like the best, sex ever. So he does it and he becomes obsessed with it, and it's just like his downward spiral. And let me tell you, it was pretty fucking good. The acting is pretty terrible. Look past that. But it was ended up being a cool body horror. And it just, anybody could relate to that, whether you're obsessed with anything. This guy becomes obsessed with sex and pleasure and how that can abundance root. But
that leads you to the lament figuration.
Right, right. Thank you. But and then the tagline that got me was Fatal Attraction meets The Blob. And let me tell you, ever said that, they fucking hit it spot on. You guys, it's free. You got an hour and a half to kill. I really enjoyed it. I think you guys should check it out.
I'm in.
I had been curious about that. I was like, I remember watching the trailer and I was like, so this is like a mystical glory hole? Like, what exactly is going on?
You'll find out what it is. Let me tell you, you do find out.
Oh man,
it oddly reminds me of this movie that is hit Shudder that I was like, I gotta check this out. But the reason I haven't is because it's foreign and it's supposed to be some movie, and it's there in the description. I'm not giving anything away, but apparently it's about these people I think in Spain, and they have this like creature that's in their barn, and they have figured, and like people go in the barn to have sex with this creature, and like the pleasure is so intense they become obsessed with it. And that's
Is this the Untamed?
Huh?
Is this the Untamed?
This is the Untamed, yeah.
I own it.
Okay. So you've seen this then?
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds like it. And I was like, that sounds like something I gotta check out. But I still haven't yet.
There's something so fucked up about horror, that like body horror, that has a sex element. I have this Lovecraft tribute book from like, I don't know, early 90s or whatever. I couldn't tell you who wrote the story that I'm thinking of, but there's a story in it where it's first person, the narrator becomes obsessed sex, and it somehow dovetails into like a Lovecraftian cult. But there's a scene where he's at an orgy and he's basically fucking something, and like when the lights come on, he realizes everybody there is fucking the orifices, of which there are many, on this giant amorphous like Lovecraftian entity. It's just so fucked up, man. I don't know. It was so.
Yeah.
I'm interested then in the special. I mean, not like going to the place to ask for the special, but like I'm definitely interested.
I was a little weirded out too. It was one of those days where I was like thumbing through, but wanted to watch something new, something I hadn't seen before, and
You found it.
found the special. It had a happy ending.
Sure did.
Oh, my God.
Here all night, if you waitress.
Oh my God. Ray, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think the reason that it gets caught up in body horror so much is because it's just another physical element of our bodies. Like that's we have these particular organs, and that's the purpose of them. And it's
right.
Ourselves, but tied up in the procreation of our species is the feeling, the orgasm that comes with it. The joy, not joy, I forget the word I'm looking for, but that's all part of like our physicalities and our bodies. And like, I think it's one of the reasons that it gets caught up in horror.
Or just the fear of getting an STD, like how rampant are and how easy any get it. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't care about gender, race, whatever. Just the effect that would have on you if you ever got one, especially if you cheated on a spouse. Like I think that's what they look at. Okay. Ugh. There's some gooey scenes in it. It gets pretty slimy and moist.
Damn, I know how you feel about the word moist. So wow.
Are we thinking society moist?
No, nothing can be society moist. Nothing.
Slither moist?
But I didn't gag watching Slither. I gagged watching Society.
Wow.
Oh.
Ray, what do you got?
Let me see. Okay, one that I did see, and it oddly connected to I guess this whole conversation. I saw The Devils before it was taken off of Shudder.
I wanted to see that and I didn't. Shit.
It was good. I mean, it's not really horror, and it's not. It felt like a intense historic drama. It's got. I mean, it's got some sex in there. It's definitely got a lot of nudity. It's an interesting story. Like the whole thing is about this. Oliver Reed plays a priest who's not a very good priest because he's sleeping around with everyone, and it takes place during the time of the plague, and this town is in France is walled in all to itself.
Okay.
Self-governed, and I forget who it is, but this new I don't know what forget what they call them in the Catholic Church. Basically, the new higher up guy in France,
Cardinal.
Has got the ear of the king, and he keeps talking about how the only way to have a unified France is to get rid of all these small Protestant towns that exist, or even the ones that are cater to Protestants, and allow them to be, and just drive Protestants out of France and take over these towns. And this town has they're self-governing themselves. And the last king promised that they could self-govern themselves. I'm sorry, the mayor promised I mean, the king promised the previous mayor who has just died that they could keep self-governing. And so they want to take over the town, and the king sends this guy in, and the guy comes up with, well, what if we say that these nuns are possessed by Satan and that they're all devils, and that the only way to take control of to save them and their souls is to get rid of Oliver Reed and make him confess that he's been connected to the devil, and basically just remove him from power so they can take over the town. It was good. I mean, it's got, like I said, it's got a lot of sex in it, and it's got a lot of nudity, which I guess you have to expect when you're watching Ken Russell.
Mm-hmm.
The acting, and I thought it was really interesting. Like I questioned as I was watching, like, how much was, okay, that seems a little bit excessive, or like this was what was going on at the time.
That really happened.
Okay.
And so Huxley wrote a book about it. Yeah,
Oh,
The
is
Devils of Les Dunes or Les Dons.
Oh, I didn't know. Wow, no kidding. All
Right?
of Huxley adapted to film by Ken Russell.
Nice.
Wow.
It has a very Black Narcissus, but like done by Ken Russell kind of feel to it.
Okay.
If you remember Narcissus.
Yes.
Yes,
Very good.
but turn up titties.
It does. There's a lot of nudity. It really turns up the titties on you. It was a little bit slow going at the beginning, but like as I kept watching, like I got more and more into it, and honestly, Oliver Reed started to win me over. Like at first, he seems like kind of a scumbag, and then he kind of takes a turn, and he's one of those characters where you're like, God, he's just fucking everything that moves. This guy. And you kind of don't trust him for that, but then like he really does seem to care about his town and keeping them a sanctuary, and I'm like, God, but he's really good at that. So I'm like, you won me over.
I mean, this is a perfect example of what we've been talking about, what Anthony has been talking about, where this movie doesn't exist in physical media.
It doesn't at all.
I mean, I think you could probably look it up on eBay and find a DVD. I think maybe I'm going to do that right now, so I can at least try and seem like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah, apparently it's just not. Oh no! What? I'm totally fucking wrong. No. Okay. It's readily available, apparently, the DVD. I don't know when this is from.
If Bezos got you, Shawn.
Well, this is eBay. This isn't Bezos. So
Get you somehow.
interesting. Okay. I mean, I was led to believe it was really, really hard to find. So maybe it's just as far as streaming, which is really weird because I don't know. I feel like people are forgetting to, or just refusing to like look to physical media to see things. And I know like a couple of years ago at work, I was talking about something to somebody who was, maybe 10 years younger than me. I was like, oh, I'll bring you the DVD. And they're like, I don't have any way to play that, but I mean, I have encountered more and more people that are like, yeah, I don't have any way to play that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's funny because like that's becoming true, but at the same time, like old VHS is like becoming a thing too. It
has been a thing.
Yeah.
Like records. Like I feel like there's a backlash where like, okay, well, fine, you're not gonna have it available for me, then fine, I'm gonna go find it on video. I'm gonna get myself VCR and I'm gonna sit down and watch this movie because I want to see this.
The difference there, though, is, I mean, I don't want to offend anybody that collects VHS because that's totally fine and cool, but a record is better fidelity than anything else you're going to listen to music on, unless it's being performed live. And a VHS is among the worst. I mean, even though it is analog, but they like the tape, the magnetic particles actually deteriorate the more you watch it. So
every time you watch it. I know what
Yeah.
you mean. The thing that I mean, not to be a little bit of a cinematic cunt, but I guess I will be. And that's that, like, one of my big criticisms for VHS, because I was collecting it towards the end of it there, and like had quite a bit, was that almost everything that got released to VHS until you're getting to the last 10 years of VHS was all pan and scan.
Yeah.
So we're getting it in the format that we're supposed to be watching it. And like, you know, that's fine if you're watching some old 50s or 60s horror movie, but if you're trying to watch something from the 80s, they probably didn't film it that way. They probably had it in a wider format and it came out in the theaters that way, but they didn't release it for sure on video that way. They crop it so that it fit the TV screens that were the square TVs that were available at the time, and that's what you had, and that's all you could watch it. And sometimes they have like weird choices as far as how they cut them, and like if you have happening on either end of the screen, you're going to miss out on one of them because they're going to decide, okay, well, we need to focus on this side and forget about the other side. And
Well, in my
it's like,
experience, I only collected VHS honestly for the nostalgia. I never watched it, but that's just me, and not knocking anybody who watches them.
No, right. I mean, and it is all, I get it's about nostalgia. Like if there are certain things, if I saw it on VHS, I might buy it just to have it on VHS, you know? Anthony, what do you weigh in on this? What do you, I mean, you are the expert on physical media, in my opinion.
There's a whole like group of people out there that are like grading them and placing monetary value on their worth now. It's absurd. And like, don't get me wrong, like one of my favorite things to do is go down to like Savers or the Dollar Tree and see what they have. But I've been to Savers and they have like walls of VHS.
Really?
The last movie I bought was like Nightbreed for $1 on VHS. I bought that. I've got like a sealed copy of Halloween 3 for $1. I was doing this for a while, and I realized, I'm like, look, I don't have a functioning VHS player anymore. The thing about like Blu-ray and high definition is that I admire the craftsmanship that goes into restoration of these old films. I'm not going to get good sound quality out of these, and you're definitely going to get shit picture quality. So what's the point of all this? And I get there's a lot of folks that are like, no, I'll only watch it if it's on VHS, and have, much like my shelves full of VHS films. But to go back and collect it and to really hold it in high regard, with the exception of films that are just out of print and have never been released again on DVD or Blu-ray or on on any other format. That's the only reason why I see the value in collecting some of these films, because beyond that, it's just idiotic clutter. It's just stuff you're going to have in your house for clutter. What's the point?
It's object. So it is like an object fetish thing, not sexual fetish, but just like, I get that. Like I know some people, I mean, I don't know them, but I know of people on social media that are really into it. And most of them are young enough to not have probably had the same, like our lives were kind of parallel with the VHS thing, right? And I think you nail on the head. Like there's some stuff I have on VHS that I had to get a functioning VHS player, and it took me fucking forever because I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And it's so niche that that's what you do now. But I mean, I'm not gonna like, so I'm trying to think of what's something that's been released on VHS recently. Like I feel like was Mandy or there was some movie that had a VHS release. Oh, I think Psycho Gorman did, right? So yeah. That's not my bag, but I totally get why somebody would buy that. Like I get it. It's an object. It's like a collector. Like I get that. Or like, I can't think off the top of my head, but I know there's some like iconic, I'm sure if I went to Flashback Video, there would be some box art that I'd be like, you know what? I would own that just to have the box, just to have the object because I remember it. And I like it visually. I'm never going to watch anything on a VHS unless there is no digital or disc copy, because VHS is I mean, it's just an inferior fucking, which is so funny because it is analog. So I've heard people argue it's better because it's analog, but it deteriorates. So it's not fucking better. I mean, if you're gonna watch it once every 10 years, maybe, you know, but if I don't know.
Like I still own a copy of Invaders from Mars from Toby Hooper on VHS for the simple reason that it wasn't available. And guess what? It was at like maybe 6 to 8 years ago, Shout Factory put it out on Blu-ray. So I don't need the fucking VHS anymore. So if there's any of you collectors out there that want to pay a ridiculous amount of money for it, give me a fucking holler.
Yeah, hit them up on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll sell all my shit for a nominal fee like that. Like, it's ridiculous. But I remember I had a copy of what was it? I'm sorry, The Thing. And Chris
I remember.
Yeah, Chris hit me up and was like, "Hey man, you wouldn't happen to?" I was like, "Dude, take it. What am I gonna do with it? It's on Blu-ray, and better than that, it's like in 4K on Blu-ray. The thing looks fucking amazing. I don't have it, you know." And like I said, for collectors that have the space, great. But like, as far as like the culture, the culture has gone to a place now to where it's like, I want this because it's for monetary value. It's worth this, you know, for monetary value. It's not like when I was younger and we were doing tape trading.
Yeah.
Or making dubs for each other, you know, dubbing tapes for each other, bootlegging stuff, and you know, oh, have you seen this? No, let me make you a copy of it.
Yeah,
you know? Like it's not like that anymore. It's purely, it's just esoteric and silly. I don't know.
I mean, if you like what you like, I just feel like definitely, like, I can't imagine. I wouldn't watch The Thing on I wouldn't even watch. That was the first movie where when I was kind of anti Blu-ray for a while, just because I'm not rebuying all my shit. It can't be that much better. And then Bickness was like, dude, I got The Thing on Blu-ray. I'm like, it really is that much better? He's like, let me put it to you this way. Did you know Doc had a nose ring? I'm like, wait, what? He's like, I'm bringing it when I come out. We watch it. I'm like, I feel like a fool for having the DVD. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just, why would I ever watch a DVD again when I just saw Doc has a fucking nose ring?
Yeah.
Like,
John, I am so sorry. Please forgive me.
yeah. So, I mean, why would you watch the VHS unless you were trying to, like, if you were trying to recreate an aesthetic where it's like, I'm going to have a totally 80s Halloween night and I'm going to play it so that it's grainy. You know, I mean, it goes in that thing, like, look at I always do music analogies, but like the Misfits Danzig, like, I don't want somebody to clean up, you know, like the Stooges, they've cleaned up some of the stuff and it's like to varying results, but like the Misfits, if you clean Walk Among Us up and it sounds like Michael Graves era Misfits, I don't want to hear it. I want it to sound like it sounds. But this, it's not quite the same. It's a different thing. And I mean, if I had a night where I wanted to watch The Thing and have it look like it looked, you know, late at night on UHF or something, fine. But if I'm gonna sit down and enjoy that movie, that ain't how I'm watching. I'm watching it on fucking Blu-ray.
But Blu-ray is a kiss on the hand to a lot of these like special effects artists. Where you go back and look at a VHS, you're shitting on the craftsmanship that went into a lot of like practical effects. You get a Blu-ray, you get to see all the fucking killer details, dude. What was it? In the Mouth of Madness recently, like that whole like wall of monsters that's coming at you, like to stop and like see all that stuff. And I think that was Rick Baker too. You're seeing all the fucking amazing detail and hard work that went into this stuff. You go collect it on VHS, you're just getting fuzz, you know. And it's not worth it. You're gonna get way better picture quality, way better audio, and like I said, as far as like the craftsmanship that went into a lot of the old practical effects, like it's just beautiful to be able to see all that stuff like in crystal clear quality. That's amazing to me. That's enough of that. I'm not talking about this anymore.
I think on just one final note, I think Anthony's right. I think that it's gotten to a point where it's not about the films. It's like Pokemon cards. It's like, oh, this is so much. This is where so much go. Like, and you know, do you care about the movie or do you care about the fetishist quality of the collecting? And I think it's more about that than anything.
Yeah, and that's not wrong. It's just as far as like if you're going to actually be watching it, you know. So let me real quick. Actually, Anthony, let's talk about A Ghost Waits.
Oh man, you want to make me cry right now?
or yeah,
No,
I'm gonna make
absolutely.
you.
Let's do it, man.
Okay, so
Ryan.
how'd you find this movie?
Well, I'm Arrow collector, and I saw a card for it. I was like, I've never heard of this before. And Arrow has been putting out a bunch of stuff that's independently done lately, and I said, all right, I'll check out a trailer for this. Looked at the trailer and just instantly, the visual aesthetic and soundtrack that they had playing over this thing, I was like, I knew this is going to be deep. Like, this is going to be really heavy hitting. And as soon as I went and looked it up, I was like, oh, this thing comes out on May 4th. It was already streaming on the app, Arrow's app, but it came out in physical media on May 4th. And I think I got mine earlier than that because I ended up importing it because it was already available in the UK. So I pulled it over, put it on one night, and just, man, this movie ripped me up, dude. This movie hit me really, really hard. And I don't want to spoil it for Tori and Ray, because I do believe you should watch it.
Yeah, you definitely should. It's really good.
It's
not a horror movie. It's not a horror movie at all.
No.
We're talking about it because it deals with ghosts and haunting, but I feel like the word quirky, it's a bad rap because it's often used like, oh, Ally McBeal, she's quirky. I don't know. That's a dated reference. I don't know anything about Ally McBeal other than she needs to eat a couple fucking cheeseburgers. But this movie has in the best way you can think of that word. It is quirky, and it's a comedy, but it's not because a comedy is there to try and make you laugh. This is funny.
I'm picturing how what's it called? Crimson Peak is. Crimson Peak was a drama with a ghost in it. Is it this with the ghost in it? Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but it's not a drama. I don't even think it's a drama. It's weird in that so Crimson Peak is like a nod to the Hammer stuff, and it is dramatic, right? Gothic and dramatic. But
what I mean by that is just the ghost part is just a part of the story, of this bigger story.
Yes, that's a good way to say it.
Much like The Walking Dead being the zombies being a background point to just human drama, but it's the ghost part is a little more involved, but it's just a thing that's happening. It's
like the basic log line would be it's a I don't know if you'd call him a contractor, let's say, who's been hired to fix a house, so he's staying at this house and fixing it, and there's a ghost whose job is to scare anybody in the house out. So she's trying to scare him out, and he isn't really having it, and they take a liking to one another. That's all I'll say. And have a bond. They have a bond. And it was charming. And yeah, dude, Anthony, you said it to me, and I watched it yesterday. The ending I thought was very eloquent, and it was a tearjerker.
Dude, it destroyed me, man. It really did. And then it hits in a place for me, just because of certain things in my personal background, in my personal life that I've dealt with myself. There's just elements of this film where you sit down, and it's very seldom where you watch something or you listen to something or you hear something, be it a piece of music or whatever, and you think this was made for me, and that's a
good feeling.
That's how I felt with the movie.
That's fucking awesome. I'm glad to know that. That's really cool.
And it's such a rare occasion in life. You really tend to embrace those types of things, or what have you, or pieces of art. And this is definitely one of those ones for me that's very, very high caliber, and will probably be I'll say it is. It's going to be one of my favorite films of all time now, and just get lumped in with Predator and Conan. But it's in that group. But it's it's not for head lopping and stuff like that. It's just it's just one of those things that really really hit me on a level that most film doesn't, and it's beautiful and it's unconventional. It's got heart, it's got charm, and it's everything you want in a film. It's beautiful, and it's for what they had for the budget that they had to make this film. It's perfect for me. I loved it.
I agree.
Loved it.
Totally agree.
God damn. Like,
I want to see
it right now.
to seeing it, but honestly, you know what? I gotta say one thing, Anthony. Don't apologize, man. It's nothing wrong with feeling emotion. Nothing wrong. That's your humanity shining through. There's nothing wrong with something touching you and making you feel. And like, there's not enough of that happens. And when it does, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So with that, I encourage people to watch it. It's phenomenal.
Great.
Even if you're not a horror fan, it's something good.
Who else? What else you guys got?
Well, I just have two that I want to mention real quick.
Okay.
Recently, they're older, but they just hit Shudder. And one was I'm gonna go absurd for a moment. One was Frankenhooker, and if not seen Frankenhooker, oh man, it's zany, it's fun. Check it out. It's apparently, like Bill Murray said, if you don't see anything else this year, see Frankenhooker, which makes me even more love the film. It is horror, but done in a very campy, very funny way. It's oh my god,
it's Henlotter, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Henlotter.
It's Henlotter, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
basket case and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Here is Henlotter. Or Frankenhooker.
Yeah. Very much grimy New York too. Very much like that time. Like, this is when New York was still dirty, and like you didn't go down those streets because you didn't want to get propositions for drugs or hookers that night.
Basket Case does he shows you how gross New York still is.
Yeah. And then the other thing was the Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man.
Good stuff.
The original Wicker Man hit Shudder, and man, I dug the shit out of that.
You've never seen it before?
No.
Oh,
dude, that's fucking amazing.
Incredibly, like, I don't know what's the word. Not heartwarming, but it wasn't like, I don't know, maybe if to a 60s audience it would have hit differently, the way they're all like cavorting around and just so joyful and having sex and throwing out this like fun folk music. But I was like, these people are cool. I thought the detective, I was like, man, this guy is just
he's a dildo.
Of these like Christian inhibitions you have that are holding you back, that are making you like unhappy, and just like embrace their like their zeal for life. And I was like, God, it's up until the ending, it's like, or oddly like whimsical, as I think what I texted to you. It's whimsical. Like, I was like, God, like these people are kind of cool. Like, if you weren't arriving to that town and they weren't planning to make you a sacrifice, they'd be kind of cool to hang out with.
So Ray, let me ask you this. Do you see the correlation between this film and Midsommar?
I knew you were going to ask that, because I was going to ask. If you didn't, I was going to, so I knew.
Absolutely. I think the difference is that this film literally makes him a sacrifice to their god so that they can have great crops, whereas Midsommar makes it a spiritual sacrifice, disconnecting her from the world that she was part of and making her something more enriching, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, the sense of community.
Yeah.
Wicker Man, you're seeing it from the perspective of like a heavily Christian man, where Midsommar, you're seeing it from a woman who's gone through a trauma.
Yeah.
So it's both playing off the sense of community he's seeing this community and freaking the fuck out because it's everything he was probably raised with, etc. Again, how you said his like holding on to his Christian inhibitions and not let anything out, where I think Danny is a little bit more open to it and really almost sees that bond, that family was there for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to say that they're not even welcoming to him when he gets there, because they're like oh, looking at him like, hey man, just party, like have some fun, like you want to get a drink, come on, have a drink with us, dance a little bit, sing, have a good time. And the waitress literally propositions him and then like dances around naked in her room. And then the next day literally says to him, I was disappointed. How come you didn't come see me? Like, she knows why he's there. They all know why he's there, but that doesn't mean, man, we're not gonna like not let you have a good time. You can still have a good time.
Important he was for their whole thing. He's the sacrifice. That's the big fucking honcho. That's we're there for you, But he didn't want to let go, and they were welcoming. They offered him, and every time. So you know what? They let him fucking burn, and I'm sure that whole time too, he was regretting not banging the hot barmaid.
Yeah.
Especially while burning alive. Yeah.
With the bees. Oh, not the bees.
Yeah, great performance from Christopher Lee. He's fantastic in that film.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, everybody's good at it, but Christopher Lee's the hell out of that fucking movie.
That actually, I remember, because I was at your place, Shawn, and I remember seeing that remake and how absurd it is. But I was honestly upset watching the original that, like, how do you remake that film and absentee all of that, I don't know what to call it, but all that sexuality and natural life that is there in that original film, and just make them into like some weird cult.
Because to hate them, and it's easy not to like them. Where the first Wicker Man, you kind of question your Christian ideal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That there's this hippie community getting along without you, but okay, yeah, they're sacrificing someone, but you can leave them be. Where in that movie, they kind of want to scare you about the whole communal living thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Any kind of that self-governed body that's leaving everybody. That they want to put the front, make them look like the bad guy. That way you don't like them. You're pissed off burning Nick Cage.
Yeah. I mean, the Nick Cage one is a comedy. Well, I think it's intentional. It's weird that they picked that particular movie, but I mean, if it's not a comedy, then it's just really misguided. I don't know.
I've yet to see the film sequel too. Has anyone seen The Wicker Tree?
Oh, I didn't even know I've never even heard of it.
I believe it's by the same writer or director. One of them did The Wicker Tree, which came out probably, I don't know, 6 to 7 years ago.
Interesting.
But I've never checked it out. Anyway, moving on. I'll just hit you with a book I read today, actually. Nailbiter. Nailbiter came out in 2016. Story by Joshua Williamson, art by Mike Henderson, about a small town in the middle of nowhere that at one point had, I believe, 16 serial killers living in it at one point. And they all get very famous, and they all go do their thing and wreak havoc amongst the world. But then now it's the concept is basically, why are there 16 serial killers that came from one single town? What's the coincidence? That's a huge coincidence, obviously, and it kind of leads you down a murder mystery path / horror, which is actually pretty gory. And again, it's decently written. I got to the first 5 issues today. Pretty fun stuff. Looking forward to the second trade.
Nice.
It came out through Image. Like I said, started back in 2016. I think it went for, I don't know, probably 30 or so issues, and was restarted recently, but I'm just getting on it now. But so far, so good. Yeah,
cool.
I'm digging
I've always meant to read it. I never have.
I'll give you a loan, man. Yeah. And then my review for Lords of Salem. Tune in next time, kids.
Okay, we'll do that next time. Okay.
Yeah.
With that cliffhanger, the Horror Vision Horror Podcast, I'm Shawn.
I am Apocalyptic Anthony.
I'm Raven Ray.
I'm Toxic Tori.
All right, guys. Stay spooky. I'm sorry I put the topless B. Arthur picture in this group. Wow. I'm so sorry.
I didn't even respond. I was like, not touching this.